Good evening everybody, we're here on Tuesday the 17th of September. We're currently started sugar beet on Saturday, which was the 14th. We've lifted 95 hectares now out of 500 hectares that we've got to lift this month in September. We've got Robert Black here, he's got 3 of his Ropa machines here with us at the moment. And 3 tractors and trailers. This sugar beet is all grown for British Sugar and is going to Bury factory. We've got 2 mouses here. Roger Warnes is doing the haulage and the mousing of the beet into the lorries. He's currently got 40 lorries on turnaround, trying to achieve 100 loads a day on average into the beet factory, and we'll be trying to achieve that for the next 10 to 12 days. See how we get on. Yeah, and as you can see, we've got 3 of these big Tigers, Ropa Tiger machines of Roberts, and 3 tractors and trailers. So yeah, as I say, they've lifted 95 hectares now since Saturday. Just, you know what it's like, just stop-start, you know, getting machines set off, a few niggly problems to start with, but now they're in the full swing of things. As you can see, ground conditions are really good. This is heavy clay, but the beet are popping out well. We had 50 millimetres of rain week before last, which has been a godsaver really, because they're not snapping any beet off in the ground. Current yield estimations are about a lorry load an acre, so somewhere between 60 and 70 tonnes a hectare. We won't know till we've finished the block, until they've all gone in, but the sugars are about 16%. Which is good really for the time of year, and we'll be happy if they do a lorry load an acre, so that'll be very good. Next year we're cutting down on beet a little bit because the price is dropping back from £40 a tonne back to 33, but when you take the pound off the insurance for the virus and the frost, and then you take off, you know, that you only get paid 75% of the full 33, and then the last 25 is at 30 or something, it's about an average of 31.50 a tonne. And when you're lifting early and getting lower yields, it takes some stacking up on paper to make a good profit out of it. So we're going to cut back slightly next year, just purely because we're on heavy land. We need to have it out in September to ensure that we get a wheat in behind. Yeah, this variety here is BTS 1915, which is the top British Sugar variety, KWS bred. Yeah, and the reason we went for that was because it's top of the list, obviously, and because we're early lifting, we needed the bulk. If you come over here, we'll just show you what some of the beet are like. So if we pull this one out the ground here, it's not a very good example, but it's quite fanged, that one, look. Yeah, that one struggled a bit with compaction. Let's try another one. Have a look. Ugh. It's not surprising after the spring we've had. This one's a better example. So what you want really, like, and a lot of people on lighter land that will leave the sugar beet in, you know, and lift, you know, end of October, November, December time, is when you plant sugar beet, is you plant them at 120,000 seeds per hectare, and you hope to establish 100,000 a hectare. And what you want is for every single one to weigh 1 kilo each, and then that's your 100 tonnes a hectare. This, obviously, this one here is probably about the bag of sugar, you know, 1 kilo, but obviously in amongst that you'll get a lot of small ones this time of year and everything. Obviously it's been a very good spring. Well, since they've gone in, we've had plenty of rain, plenty of sun, but as I say, at the moment the sugars are about 16%, and whether that's because the 2 inches of rain we had 10 days ago has encouraged the beet to carry on growing, which means then they've used the sugar within in the plant to put more top and growth on. I'm not too sure, but we'll soon find out as we keep harvesting. Yeah, this ground here, actually this field here is 250 acres, but we've actually just lost this farm because it's been sold away from the previous owner. So the the land's actually being farmed. The person who's bought it already has somebody who contract farms for them, which is fair enough. So we've actually lost this block, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame, but there we go, onwards and upwards. Hopefully we'll find some more somewhere else one day. But we've replaced this block earlier on in the year. We actually went off and we've rented some ground where we'll be lifting beet next week. There's a 400-acre block there, so it's not worked out too bad in the end, to be fair. Right, so basically, I'll do the window up here. Basically, on a sugar beet harvester, at the front you have the topper, which tops all the green leaves off, and then straight behind that you've got knives which cut the leaves, any leaves that are left, or the majority of them, off the top of the crown and takes a little bit of the crown of the sugar. Then you've got some walking shares that do this in the ground, which work the beet out, and then they go onto a roller bed behind, which loses some dirt and cleans the beet up a little bit. Then you come behind, in the middle of the machine, you have the turbines here, which have got like pigtails, metal pigtails on them, which is spinning round really fast, which then knocks even more dirt and green top and all sorts off of the sugar beet. And then finally they go up this ring trace, up over and into the tank of the harvester. So this one here, you'll see it crab steers as well, so it spreads the weight. I know he's doing the outside run on the headland at the moment, so he won't be in crab steer, but as you can see as he comes round, look, the wheels come out the side to try and spread the weight of the harvester across the whole area. Instead of just in the same track, it will spread it over like 4 or 5 metres instead of just over 3, just to try and help with reducing the compaction that's made. So earlier on in the week, you'll see from the footage on here that we were out putting some more leads into a field with the digger. We hired an 8-ton machine off of Hyde Hall Farming Partnership next door, an 8-ton machine, and we were using the JCB just to backfill some stoning back up to 24 inches, just because we had a lot of wet areas and we didn't have time to waiting to get a trencher in, so we put an extra 300 metres in ourselves, and we've currently mowed that today, and my brother's behind now with a Torano ripping that up. So we've now got everything to date is all ripped up for wheat. We're now on to ripping some wheat stubbles up ready for sugar beet next year. So that's what we're on with at the moment, and Ian's currently subsoiling as well. Graham's finishing off a bit of bale chasing, and yeah, that's the crack. Right, let's pull over here a minute. This is Jim.
Hang on, Tom's on the phone. 93 loads delivered. Oh, he's gone.
They've done 160 in total.
Dirt tear's the same. Sugar's the same. That's outrageous, isn't it? 16.6. The factory average is half that.
What do you mean half that?
3.3 dirt tears and ours is 6.6.
Really? Takes some believing, doesn't it? So what I'm doing here is just riding on the back of the mole, just to see if I can hear when the drainer goes through a pipe. Basically, I think there's one in about another 20 metres, and you can feel the mole drainer as it goes through the pipe. There we go, just gone through the pipe there. Lovely. Happy days. So, afternoon everybody. We're just here today, mole draining. After some wheat, this was second wheat. This is destined for sugar beet next year. And we haven't mould this ground since we've taken it on, which was about 5 years ago. and it's beautiful, perfect conditions. We were finding wet places coming in the field, and when we've dug down and had a look at what's actually going on down there, it's forming a perfect mole. So basically what you have is a bullet, which is the point on the bottom of the molding leg with an expander behind, and what it does is the point goes through, loosens it, and then behind it comes the expander, which then is pulled through on a chain behind, which smooths a lovely perfect mole. And we're in there 24 inches because the pipe's down at 36, and then you have backfill stone to 24 inches. So we're currently in the ground at, like I say, at 24 inches deep. So what happens is the water will then filtrate through the ground into the moles, into these moles. As you can see, they're only, we mole quite close. We might only mole sort of 2 meters apart, 2.25 meters between moles, which just means that your drainage is better. Your moles will last longer because they're closer together, so they don't have to work as hard. So then hopefully the longevity of the moles lasts longer. I mean, a lot of people tend to mole on sort of 10 foot, which is like sort of 3 meters apart. So yeah, but with this Proforge mole drainer, the reason we went for the Proforge mole drainer over anything else is because on a lot of this land in North Hertfordshire, North Essex and everything was all drained back in the 60s, 70s and 80s, and a lot of the headland lead pipes are only 12 metres out from the ditch. So of course when you're moling with a quad track, as you can see what's coming up here now, because of the length of it, and then if you get a trailed mole on the back, if you're moling down into the pipe, you can't get over the drain. So that means you're pulling out before the drain, so then the water's going to pump up out of the ground. So the reason we went for the 3-point linkage mounted mole drainer was purely for that reason, just so we could make sure we were short enough to be able to get over any pipes that are in an old system. We did have a trailed before, Proforge trailed, and we swapped it for the mounted for this reason. Otherwise you'd have to mole something like this field, you'd have to slip the field and mole it all one way to guarantee that all your moles are in the ground at the bottom of the field before the drain, if you know what I mean. So to guarantee that the water's getting into the drain. But we've got on very well with this Proforge mole drainer. My brother and I were working out the other day, we've probably mould about 3 to 3,500 acres with it since 2021. I think we've had this. So in the lot, you know, quite a lot of acreage. That wasn't just with this mole, sorry, that was with the trailed Proforge one we had previous to this, but we swapped it out for this one. What we like about the Proforge one as well is it's still got all the parallelogram, whatever you want to call it, sort of linkage on it, so it follows the contours of the ground. It's not just rigid on the link arms. So as you'll see, as the mole drainer comes down the field, you'll see that there's a silver bar just in front of the disc, and that comes up to the black sort of bracket, and that floats backwards and forwards so it goes with the contours of the ground. So you're always in there at that 24 inches, it follows the ground, which is good. The other reason we went for the Proforge over the TWB was only purely, one of the main reasons was the disc. The disc that cuts a groove in the ground in front of the mole draining leg, because if you don't cut the groove, what we were finding was like say laid straw or lumps of straw were then hanging on round the mole leg and then bringing the mole out the ground. So we found we needed a disc just to cut that trash and everything in front of the leg, and it has worked very well. You can see today that on the front of the skids where it's slightly bit tacky and the stubble's pulling out very easily, just on the front of the skid, that's balling up a little bit, but that's not a problem to what we're trying to achieve here. So yeah, this season we'll have mowed 800 acres so far. of ground, just because purely it's perfect conditions. And then depending on once maize harvest commences, we might end up doing a further 600 or 700 acres behind them, but it all depends on the weather at the end of this month, really. And also we want to get wheat in, so we'll just see what happens there, in all fairness. But no, we bought the ProForge mould drainer through AgriLink. Get on very well with Peter Gilder at AgriLink at Thaxted, and he gave us a lot of advice when we were buying the moulds. He used to work for J. Brock and Sons, who were selling the TWBs, TWB mould drainer. He used to work on those, but yeah, as I say, they sell these, and we've got on very well. Good supply of wearing metal as well from AgriLink, no problems there, and the metal seems to be wearing well as well. We were to try and reduce downtime and be more efficient in what we're trying to achieve in output. Like, we try to do 2 hectares an hour with the twin leg mow, is what we like to achieve, you know, in big fields. Obviously small fields, a lot more turning, but with the wearing metal side of it, you have a shin on the front of the mould draining leg, and we've had, I think you call it therabide, which is a harder type of metal, and Peter from AgriLink has actually welded that on the bottom 12 inches of the shin, which has increased the longevity of the shin no end. I mean, I haven't done the figures yet to work out how many extra acres we're doing with that on, compared to just having a standard metal shin. But no, it's been working very well. We're currently using, probably on average, I think with turning and everything, I mean, when the mole's working and the tractor's working in the ground, we're up to sort of 65 to 75 litres an hour, depending on how tough the ground is. And then obviously when you take turning and everything into it, we're about 55 litres an hour average. So if we're doing 2 hectares an hour, you know, 5 acres an hour, that's roughly 10 litres an acre in 11 litres an acre in diesel. So not too bad. But where we were moulding previously over at Thaxted, we mould 350, 400 acres over there. Yeah, at least, yeah, 400, maybe 450 acres over there, sorry. We wore metal out a lot more because the ground wasn't quite as damp down there. It was a lot more dry, so we wore a lot more metal out. Since we've been here, we've only done two of the bullets, the points, and that was to mould 120 acres, and we've done a set of shins, so that was it. Whereas over the other way, we did 50 acres and we did six bullets, like, you know, and that's the that was the problem over there, and that quite costly moulding exercise over there, but it needs to be done because it's one of the most important things to do. If you haven't got your foundations right, i.e. your ditches cleaned out, your outfalls, you can see your outfalls and the water can get away, and then the next step's to mould drain the field. If you haven't got them right, there's not really much point in farming the ground, because if the crop can't root well, water can't get away, crop can't uptake nutrients, you don't stand a chance of getting very good output. And we would be the type of people that are high input, high output farmers, or we try to get the high output every year. But as everyone knows, the farming calendar, weather changes year on year, no 2 years are the same. So here I've got my measuring stick. That's the mark for 24 inches. So if I push that down into the trench, there you go, and pull it out, you can see there that we're in there perfect depth. That's 24 inches to there. So we're in there at the correct depth, which is ideal. I'll just walk over here and walk everyone through it. So earlier I was telling you about on the mould drainer, these are the shins, and this is the therabide metal that Pete has welded on to the bottom of the shins. And as you can see, not only is it helping with the less wear on the shin, but also there's less wear on the back of the leg, so the legs are lasting longer. We did do a trial for AgriLink where we used the Hardox points, so the bullet. We tried those, but the problem we were having was, because you don't know what's under the ground, we actually tried them First time up the field, snapped them in half. So we went back to the standard ones because it's a lot less expense in snapping one of these compared to snapping one of the Hardox ones. The Hardox ones are £260. I think these are 120. So this point goes in the ground, loosens the soil, then behind you have what you call the expander, and we run a ceramic one because the ceramic lasts forever. We don't run a metal one, so the wear on it's minimal. So what it does is it keeps a consistent mole behind the bullet all the time instead of varied in size. I'll just let Ian go now. Righto, mate, thank you for that. Thank you. So this is where Ian's pulled out. I'll just give you a slight example of what we're looking for. This is obviously down there at 24 inches, and you can see, look, the smoothness of what that expander has done to the clay. And that is basically producing a drainage channel. If we grab this bit here, look, and flop it over, this is a better example. You can see that's what it does. We look for it to polish, so then the water will run down these channels into the drains that are backfilled with stone to 24 inches, and then we mole into those. That will run perfect channel straight into the stone, drop into the stone, down into the drain, into the ditch. If I can keep it whole. So this is a bit, as he's pulled out on the end, as you can see, that's the top half of the mole. So as you can see, that is lovely and shiny. What you'll find is underneath the ground, that will be perfectly like 4 inches round and ready for the water to run down. And as you can see, it is perfect conditions for molding. It's like Play-Doh. And there's a bit fallen back in there. That doesn't matter because it's the start of the mold. But as you can see down there, I don't know if you can see down there, but that's where your mold channel is for the water to run. We'll just check a few more to see, make sure we're at 24 inches. What we've also done is come out here with the 3 metre Sumo Trio just to level off some deep tram lines, just to make it less stressful on the there you go, we're in at 24 inches, lovely. Just to level the ruts out so it's not as hard on the machinery, on the quad track, and just to make sure that mole is still running at that consistent depth of 24 inches deep, rather than dropping into a tram line and going deeper and potentially wrecking pipes.